You know, life is not about waiting for opportunities to knock at your door. It's about becoming the kind of person who creates opportunities. Every single day gives us a choice to stay the same or to become just a little bit better than yesterday. Improvement doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It can be as small as reading one page of a book, learning a new word, showing kindness when you don't feel like it, or simply choosing discipline over excuses. Those little steps, they compound, they build character, they shape destiny. Here's the truth: nobody is born perfect. Every success story you admire is written with mistakes, failures, and a lot of self-doubt. But what separates those who rise from those who stay stuck is the willingness to evolve. To ask yourself every morning, how can I be a better version of myself today? Improving yourself every day is not about being better than anyone else. It's about being better than who you were yesterday. That's where the real competition lies, in the mirror. So if you stumble, get back up. If you fail, learn. If you're scared, face it anyway, because growth lives on the other side of fear. And when you keep showing up for yourself, day after day, you become unstoppable. So promise yourself this: no matter where you are, no matter what you have or don't have, you will give yourself permission to grow. Because the most powerful investment you will ever make is in you. Small daily improvements lead to big results, and this simple truth has the power to transform the way we see growth and success in life. Too often, people imagine that greatness comes from sudden breakthroughs, massive changes, or grand moments of glory. But in reality, the most extraordinary achievements are built on the quiet, consistent effort of making small choices, one day at a time. Think of it as planting seeds. When you plant a seed in the soil, nothing happens overnight. You water it, you nurture it, you give it light, and slowly, almost invisibly, it begins to sprout. Over time, with steady care, that tiny seed grows into something strong, something powerful, something that commands attention. The same principle applies to our personal growth. Every small action we take, every new habit we build, every single improvement, no matter how insignificant it feels in the moment, accumulates into something much bigger. Imagine learning a new skill. If you dedicate just 10 minutes every day to practicing, at first it may feel pointless. 10 minutes seems too small, too insignificant to make a difference. But when you look back after a year, those minutes add up to more than 60 hours of deliberate practice. And 60 hours can completely change your level of expertise. That's the magic of small, consistent steps. They may feel invisible in the short term, but in the long term, they become undeniable. We live in a world that often glorifies speed and instant results. People want overnight success, instant recognition, fast progress. But the truth is, shortcuts rarely lead to lasting results. The person who decides to improve just 1% every day is building a foundation that is unshakable. Over time, that 1% compounds, and before you know it, you've transformed not just your habits, but your entire identity. The power of compounding is not limited to money. It applies to your health, your mindset, your skills, and your dreams. Think of an athlete training for excellence. They don't suddenly become champions by one big effort. It's the daily discipline of pushing themselves a little harder, eating a little healthier, sleeping a little better, and focusing a little longer. Those micro choices, stacked day after day, create champions. The same is true for artists, entrepreneurs, leaders, or anyone striving to make an impact. It is never about doing everything at once. It is about doing the small things repeatedly until they transform you. The beauty of small daily improvements is that they are accessible to everyone. You don't need extraordinary resources. You don't need a perfect environment, and you don't need a dramatic plan. All you need is the decision to do something today that makes you a little better than yesterday. That could mean replacing one negative thought with a positive one. It could mean choosing to walk for 15 minutes instead of scrolling on your phone. It could mean practicing gratitude for just a moment instead of focusing on complaints. These actions may feel tiny, but tiny becomes mighty when you keep at it. When you look at people who achieve greatness, what you see are the results, not the process. You see the book they published, not the countless hours they wrote a few pages each day. You see the healthy body, not the small choices they made at each meal. You see the confidence, not the moments of quiet self-reflection they practiced daily. Big results are always the product of small, hidden efforts that nobody claps for in the beginning. Another powerful thing about small improvements is how they shape our mindset. Every time you choose to take a small step forward, you're training your brain to believe in progress. You're proving to yourself that you can grow. And the more often you do it, the stronger that belief becomes. Growth stops being something far away and starts being part of who you are. This shift in identity is what creates lasting change, because once you see yourself as someone who grows, you naturally keep seeking opportunities to improve. There is also resilience in small improvements. When you aim for huge changes all at once, failure feels overwhelming. If you set a goal to transform everything in your life in one big leap, the moment you stumble, it feels like defeat. But when your focus is on small steps, failure loses its power. Missing one day doesn't erase the progress of the previous 100. You simply pick up where you left off. The journey becomes sustainable because it's not built on unrealistic pressure, but on steady, achievable actions. Think of it in terms of building strength. If you try to lift the heaviest weight in the gym on your very first day, you'll fail and maybe even injure yourself. But if you start small and increase little by little, your body adapts, and one day you'll be lifting weights you once thought were impossible. The same principle applies to every area of life. Improvement is a gradual layering of effort, each day stacking on the previous one, until the impossible becomes possible. And here's something powerful. Small daily improvements are contagious. When people around you see you making small, consistent efforts, they are inspired to do the same. Your growth becomes a ripple effect, encouraging others to believe in their own ability to improve. Without even realizing it, your quiet dedication can light a spark in someone else's journey. That's how change spreads, not through grand speeches or dramatic actions, but through living proof of what's possible when you commit to the little things. Even in moments of doubt, when the progress feels invisible, small improvements are still working in the background. Just like a seed buried in the soil, unseen by the world, your efforts are building roots. Those roots are preparing you for the moment when growth finally becomes visible. And when it does, it feels sudden to the outside world. But you know it was the result of all those unnoticed, consistent steps. Compete with who you were yesterday, not others, because the truest form of growth is not about measuring yourself against the world, but about measuring yourself against the version of you that existed the day before. Every time you wake up, you are given a brand new opportunity to become stronger, wiser, and more resilient than you were yesterday. The danger lies in constantly comparing yourself to others, because that comparison steals your focus, your energy, and your joy. When you look at someone else's life, their achievements, or their timeline, you forget that they have a completely different journey, shaped by different experiences, challenges, and circumstances. Their path is not yours to follow, and your path is not theirs to copy. The only fair and meaningful competition you can ever have is with the person staring back at you in the mirror. When you compete with others, you create a mindset where your worth depends on how you measure up to them. If they succeed, you feel like you're failing, even if you've made progress in your own life. This constant comparison can trap you in a cycle of frustration and self-doubt, because no matter how much you achieve, there will always be someone ahead of you in some aspect of life. But when you compete with yourself, the rules change. Suddenly, success is not about being better than anyone else. It is about being better than your past self. That shift gives you control because you are no longer tied to external measures of worth. You're only tied to your own progress. Think of it this way. If yesterday you could run 1 mile, today your competition is simply to run a little further or a little faster. If yesterday you learned a single new word, today your challenge is to learn 2. If yesterday you allowed fear to hold you back, today your task is to take 1 small step forward despite the fear. These may sound like minor victories, but stacked together, they turn into monumental growth. The beauty of this approach is that no one can take it from you, and no one can outshine you in your own lane. Competing with yourself creates clarity. Instead of being distracted by what everyone else is doing, your focus becomes razor sharp on your own actions, habits, and progress. You begin to pay attention to the little things that matter: how you think, how you react, how you show up. You start noticing patterns that either push you forward or hold you back. With this awareness, you gain the power to change yourself 1 layer at a time. External competition may give you temporary motivation, but self-competition creates transformation. It is also liberating to realize that you don't need to be the best in the world. You just need to be the best version of yourself. The world doesn't need another copy of someone else's success. It needs the unique story only you can write. When you stop trying to outdo others and start trying to outdo yourself, you tap into creativity, authenticity, and courage. You begin to take risks that matter to you, not risks that are meant to impress someone else. You stop chasing recognition and start chasing growth. That's where true fulfillment lies, not in applause, but in the quiet confidence of knowing you are further along today than you were yesterday. This mindset also protects you from envy and resentment. When someone else achieves something great, instead of feeling threatened, you can celebrate them because their journey has nothing to do with yours. Your progress isn't diminished by their success, just like the stars don't lose their shine when the moon appears. When you compete only with yourself, you free yourself from bitterness and open yourself to inspiration. You can admire others without comparison, and you can be motivated by their achievements while still staying grounded in your own lane. One of the most powerful outcomes of competing with yourself is that it builds consistency. When you measure progress against your own past, you see every step forward, no matter how small. This creates momentum. Each day becomes a new challenge, a new opportunity to push a little harder, learn a little more, and rise a little higher. Instead of chasing perfection, you embrace progress, and progress, even in its smallest form, is addictive. It keeps you moving, even on the days when motivation feels low. Self-competition also builds resilience because it allows room for mistakes. If you stumble today, you know you still have tomorrow to try again. Failure doesn't mean you've lost to someone else. It simply means you have another opportunity to grow beyond your previous limits. In this way, failure stops being a permanent mark of defeat and instead becomes a stepping stone toward growth. Every setback is simply part of the ongoing competition with yourself, and as long as you keep showing up, you're still in the game. Consider how this mindset plays out in everyday life. A student who compares themselves to others may feel discouraged if they don't top the class, even if they've improved their own grades. But a student who competes only with themselves celebrates every improvement, whether it's 1 mark higher or a deeper understanding of a concept. An artist who competes with other artists may feel paralyzed by the brilliance of others, but an artist who competes with their past work can find joy in each new painting, sketch, or idea because they can see how far they've come. A professional who competes with colleagues may feel burned out trying to keep up, but one who competes with their own performance keeps growing steadily, setting new personal benchmarks and achieving satisfaction with every step. When you think about it, life is not a race to the finish line. It's a journey of constant growth. If you keep looking sideways at others, you'll stumble on your own path. But if you keep your eyes focused on where you were yesterday and where you are today, you'll keep moving forward with strength and purpose. This perspective doesn't just make you more successful, it makes you more peaceful. Because at the end of the day, peace comes not from outpacing others, but from knowing you're outgrowing yourself. Failures are lessons, not endings, and when we truly understand this, our entire relationship with setbacks, mistakes, and disappointments changes forever. So often, we are taught to fear failure to avoid it, to see it as proof that we are not good enough or capable enough. But failure is not a wall meant to stop you. It is a doorway meant to redirect you, reshape you, and strengthen you. Every single failure carries a hidden gift, an insight, a correction, a chance to grow in ways that success alone could never teach. Success is rewarding, yes, but failure is where the deepest learning lies because it forces us to face our weaknesses, challenge our limits, and rebuild with greater wisdom. Think of failure as a teacher. It does not hand you easy lessons. It gives you the kind of lessons that sting, that push you to question, that demand reflection. When you make a mistake, it is not the universe punishing you. It is the universe showing you a path you did not know existed. If you are willing to listen, failure becomes a map that guides you to a better version of yourself. It is only when we resist it, when we allow shame and fear to blind us, that we miss the chance to grow from it. The most successful people in the world are not those who never failed. They are those who failed again and again, but refused to let those failures define them. Instead, they used them as fuel to rise higher. Imagine a child learning to walk. The child stumbles, falls, and struggles countless times before they finally take steady steps. Yet, nobody calls those falls a failure. They are seen as part of the learning process, a natural and necessary step toward walking. But as we grow older, we forget this truth. We start labeling our stumbles as endings rather than part of the journey. In reality, every failure is just like that child's fall. It is a step closer to strength, balance, and mastery. Failures also build resilience. When you face a setback and learn to rise again, you train your mind and heart to be stronger. You discover that your capacity to endure is greater than you thought. With each failure, you develop patience, persistence, and courage. Without these traits, success can be fleeting, because it takes strength to sustain the weight of achievement. Failure prepares you for that strength. It teaches you that nothing is final until you decide it is. The ability to get back up after being knocked down is one of the most powerful skills you can ever have, and it is only failure that gives you the chance to practice it. Another reason failures are lessons is that they strip away illusions. They reveal the truth about what works and what doesn't. They show you where your strategy was flawed, where your preparation was incomplete, or where your mindset was holding you back. Without failure, you might continue down the wrong road, wasting time and energy. Failure forces you to pause, reassess, and redirect. In this way, it acts as a compass, pointing you toward a more effective path. Sometimes, the very failure you dread becomes the event that saves you from years of effort in the wrong direction. Failure also humbles us, and humility is essential for growth. Success alone can sometimes make us overconfident, blind to our shortcomings, and unwilling to change. Failure, however, shatters arrogance and reminds us that we are still learning, still growing, still imperfect. And in that humility lies the openness to learn more, to listen more, to adapt more. Failure grounds us, but it does not break us. It rebuilds us with stronger foundations. Think of the countless inventions, discoveries, and creative masterpieces that were born from failure. Thomas Edison famously tested thousands of times before finding the right filament for the light bulb. Each attempt that didn't work was not an ending. It was a lesson that brought him closer to the solution. J.K. Rowling faced numerous rejections before her stories reached the world. Every rejection was not a closed door. It was a redirection that strengthened her determination. These examples remind us that the gap between failure and success is often bridged by persistence and the ability to see failures for what they truly are. Teachers in disguise, failure also teaches us empathy. When you have stumbled, when you have fallen, you understand the struggles of others more deeply. You become kinder, more compassionate, more willing to support those who are going through their own setbacks. Success might inspire admiration, but failure builds connection because everyone has experienced it. When you embrace your own failures as lessons, you can share those lessons with others, turning your story into a source of encouragement and hope. On a personal level, failures reveal your true character. It is easy to be graceful, confident, and optimistic when everything is going well. But when you fail, your patience, courage, and determination are tested. Will you give up or will you rise again? Will you see yourself as defeated or will you see yourself as evolving? Failure strips away pretenses and shows you what you are really made of. And often, it is in those moments of disappointment that you discover a strength within you that you never knew existed. Failures are also reminders that life is not meant to be perfect. The beauty of life lies in its unpredictability, its twists and turns, its highs and lows. If everything always went according to plan, there would be no growth, no depth, no story worth telling. The struggles, the mistakes, the wrong turns, they add richness to your journey. They give meaning to your triumphs because without knowing what it feels like to fail, you could never fully appreciate what it feels like to succeed. Even the way failure feels, the sting of disappointment, the weight of regret serves a purpose. It sharpens your desire to do better. It ignites a fire that comfort and ease never could. Discomfort is a catalyst, pushing you to stretch beyond your limits. Failure, with all its discomfort, pushes you to reinvent yourself. It teaches you resilience, adaptability, and creativity. Without it, you would remain stuck in the safety of your comfort zone, never discovering what you are truly capable of. Growth begins where fear ends, and this simple truth explains why so many people remain stuck in the same place for years, circling around their comfort zones, repeating patterns, and never unlocking their true potential. Fear is the invisible chain that holds people back, convincing them that safety is better than possibility, that certainty is better than adventure, and that failure is worse than regret. But the reality is, fear is often nothing more than an illusion, a voice in the mind that magnifies risks, minimizes your strengths, and paints the unknown as something to avoid. The moment you stop letting fear dictate your choices, you create the space for growth, and that space is where transformation happens. Fear shows up in many disguises. Sometimes it is fear of failure, whispering that if you try, you might not succeed, so it's better not to attempt at all. Sometimes it is fear of judgment, reminding you that others might laugh, criticize, or misunderstand your efforts, so you silence your dreams before they are spoken. Sometimes it is fear of change, warning you that stepping into something new means leaving behind what feels familiar, even if what is familiar is unfulfilling. These fears keep people trapped, not because the obstacles are real, but because the belief in those obstacles feels real. Growth demands that you push beyond those beliefs, that you step into discomfort, that you face the unknown with courage. The interesting thing about fear is that it rarely disappears before you act. Many people wait for the moment when they will feel ready, when fear will vanish, when confidence will magically appear. But waiting is a trap because confidence doesn't come first. Action comes first. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward despite fear. The very act of stepping into the unknown is what weakens fear's grip. And with each step you take, fear grows smaller while your strength grows larger. Every time you choose courage over comfort, you expand the boundaries of your life. Think about the first time someone speaks in public, performs on a stage, or takes a leap into a completely new career. The fear is overwhelming, the doubts are loud, the heartbeat races. But once the step is taken, the fear that felt like a mountain shrinks into a pebble. That moment becomes proof that fear was never as powerful as it seemed. Growth begins at that precise moment. When you prove to yourself that fear can be challenged, that it can be walked through, that it does not define you. Growth is not comfortable, and it is not supposed to be. Comfort zones are safe, but they are also prisons, keeping you from discovering your full capacity. Fear guards the walls of that prison, but the key to unlocking the door is courage. Every time you face fear, you break another piece of that wall, and with each crack, more of your potential is revealed. People who grow the most are not those who never feel fear, but those who have trained themselves to step forward even with fear walking beside them. They understand that fear is a sign they are standing at the edge of something important, something that has the power to stretch them. It is also important to see fear as a compass. Often, the things we fear most are the very things that hold the greatest potential for growth. If speaking in front of people terrifies you, perhaps your voice has power that needs to be shared. If starting a business scares you, perhaps you have ideas that can change your future. If leaving a comfort zone frightens you, perhaps your destiny lies outside of it. Fear doesn't always mean stop. Sometimes it means go, because behind that fear is the version of you waiting to be born. Growth begins where fear ends because fear marks the boundary of the known, and growth only happens when you cross into the unknown. Fear also has a way of exaggerating reality. It tells you that failure will ruin everything, when in truth, failure is rarely final. It tells you that people are watching and judging, when in reality, most people are too focused on their own lives to notice. It tells you that you are not ready, when in fact nobody ever feels fully ready for the things that truly matter. Recognizing these lies weakens fear's hold. When you question fear instead of obeying it, you begin to see that much of what you were afraid of never actually comes true. And even if it does, you discover that you are capable of handling it. The process of overcoming fear is gradual. You don't have to face your biggest fears all at once. You can start with small acts of courage. Each time you push yourself just a little beyond comfort, you expand your capacity for bravery. These small victories build confidence, and confidence makes the next step easier. Over time, what once terrified you becomes natural, and you begin to crave the growth that lies on the other side of fear. This cycle of facing fear, growing, and then facing bigger fears is how people evolve into the strongest versions of themselves. Another powerful aspect of fear is that it often protects treasures. Many of the greatest achievements, relationships, and opportunities in life are hidden behind walls of fear. The love you long for may require you to risk rejection. The career you dream of may require you to risk security. The adventure you crave may require you to risk the comfort of what you already know. Fear tells you to stay where it is safe, but growth whispers that everything you want lies beyond that safety. Choosing growth means choosing to risk, to try, to step into the unknown, even when your knees shake and your voice trembles. When you look back on life, it is never the fears that you faced that you regret. It is the fears that you obeyed. The chances you didn't take, the words you didn't speak, the dreams you didn't chase. Fear convinces you to shrink, but growth calls you to expand. Every time you silence fear and step forward anyway, you rewrite your story. You stop being controlled by what might go wrong and start being driven by what might go right. And that shift changes everything because it allows you to live a life led by vision instead of limitation. The best investment is in yourself because no matter what happens in life, whether circumstances change, whether money comes and goes, whether people stay or leave, the one thing that will always remain with you is who you are and what you have built within. When you choose to invest in yourself, you are planting seeds that can never be taken away. Knowledge, skills, confidence, resilience, health, and mindset are assets that grow over time and create opportunities far greater than anything external can provide. People often look for security in things outside of themselves, chasing possessions, titles, or validation. But the real security comes from knowing that you have developed the strength, wisdom, and ability to handle whatever life places in your path. Investing in yourself means recognizing that you are your greatest project. Every hour spent improving your skills, every book read, every new habit developed, every effort to improve your health or your mindset, it all compounds to create a version of you that is stronger, smarter, and more capable than before. Unlike material things, which lose value over time, self-investment only increases in worth. The knowledge you gain today can serve you for decades. The discipline you build now can carry you through challenges years from now. The confidence you nurture becomes a tool you can rely on in every aspect of life. The best investment in yourself is often invisible to others at first. It is waking up earlier to practice discipline. It is choosing to learn instead of wasting time. It is saying no to habits that drain you so you can say yes to the ones that elevate you. These small investments do not always bring instant rewards, but over time, they build a foundation so solid that opportunities naturally begin to flow toward you. Success is not an accident. It is the outcome of consistent self-investment, the quiet work that nobody sees until the results become undeniable. When you invest in your mind, you expand your possibilities. Reading, learning, exploring new ideas, developing critical thinking. These are not just activities, they are pathways to freedom. The more you know, the more choices you have. The person who refuses to learn limits their life to what they already know, while the person who invests in learning keeps opening doors to new opportunities. Every piece of knowledge becomes a tool you can use to create, to solve, to innovate. A well-fed mind is like a powerful engine. It can take you further than you ever imagined. Investing in yourself also means caring for your body, because without health, even the grandest dreams become heavy burdens. Nourishing your body, exercising, resting, and treating it with respect are not luxuries. They are necessities. Your body is the vehicle through which you experience life, and the stronger it is, the more energy you have to pursue your ambitions. Health is wealth, and choosing to invest in it today saves you from struggles tomorrow. A clear mind and a strong body create the foundation upon which all other growth is built. Another essential investment is in your mindset. The way you think determines the way you live. If you carry limiting beliefs, if you allow doubt and fear to control you, no amount of external success can bring fulfillment. But if you invest in building a resilient, positive, and growth-oriented mindset, you give yourself the power to face challenges with strength and to see possibilities where others see barriers. A strong mindset allows you to turn setbacks into lessons, to keep going when things get tough, and to stay grounded when things go well. It is one of the most valuable assets you will ever build. Relationships are also part of investing in yourself. Surrounding yourself with people who inspire, challenge, and support you is an investment that shapes your growth. The people you spend time with influence your mindset, your energy, and your actions. Choosing to be around those who push you to rise, who believe in your potential, who reflect the kind of values you want to live by, that is one of the most powerful ways to elevate yourself. And it begins with the recognition that your environment is part of your investment strategy. Time is another area where investment in yourself shows its value. How you use your hours determines the quality of your life. Wasting time on distractions may feel easy in the moment, but it robs you of growth. Using time to build, learn, and grow may feel demanding, but it pays dividends that last a lifetime. Every hour invested in yourself is like depositing wealth into an account that grows in value daily. Unlike external investments, the returns here are guaranteed, because you are directly shaping your future through your choices. Investing in yourself is also about emotional growth. Learning how to manage your emotions, how to communicate effectively, how to build patience and empathy. These are skills that improve not only your life, but also the lives of those around you. Emotional intelligence allows you to handle conflicts with wisdom, to connect deeply with others, and to lead with understanding. It is one of the most underrated forms of self-investment, yet it is often the key to personal and professional success. Sometimes investing in yourself means stepping away from what is comfortable. It may mean leaving behind habits, people, or environments that no longer serve your growth. It may mean taking risks to pursue opportunities that stretch you. It may mean enduring discomfort for the sake of progress. These choices are not easy, but they are necessary because real growth rarely happens in comfort zones. The courage to bet on yourself, even when others doubt you, is one of the boldest forms of self-investment. The beautiful thing about investing in yourself is that it creates ripple effects. As you grow, as you improve, as you strengthen your skills and mindset, you naturally uplift those around you. You become a source of inspiration, a living example of what is possible when someone prioritizes growth. Your energy changes, your confidence grows, and people notice. You begin to attract opportunities, relationships, and experiences that align with your new level of growth. In this way, investing in yourself not only changes your life, it influences the world around you.